it's time to sit back and relax with your favorite drink. And listen. I was in a secret CIA unit. Here's what I can finally tell. By Augustus Cordoba. Part 1. Well, I'm part of a covert unit so secret most folks wouldn't even believe we exist. We're called the Grid. Now, officially we don't exist. But when the threats get too messy, too political, too explosive for the usual spooks, that's when they bring us in. We handle the nightmares so no one else has to, the ones no one wants to touch, the ones that could topple governments or spark wars. I've stared down horrors that would break hardened agents, but that's the job. Wade into the dark so the country can sleep easy. I got right into this world after college. Didn't have a clear plan, just knew I wanted to serve, to matter. Started as a desk jockey, sifting through reports, analyzing threats, connecting the dots. It was interesting, for a while, but I hated being chained to a chair, watching danger from afar. That's when the Grid found me. They saw the test scores, saw that I didn't flinch at speaking up, didn't care about playing it safe if lives were on the line. In the Grid, that's what they want. Thinkers who aren't afraid to get their hands dirty, who will operate in the shadows where the rules blur and the stakes are life or death. The work's dangerous, the method's unconventional. There's no medals or headlines. What we do, the world will never know, and that's the point. I didn't sign up for fame. I signed up to do the jobs no one else could stomach. Training was brutal. You learn to disappear in plain sight, to blend in anywhere, to read a room and spot danger before it spots you. You sharpen your instincts until they're as lethal as any weapon you carry. We get access to tech most people wouldn't even dream exists. Gadgets, enhancers, tools designed to tip the balance when the enemy is anything but ordinary. Because sometimes the enemy isn't just human. They're brilliant, ruthless, and hell-bent on spreading destruction in ways you cannot predict. My first mission? I went undercover in a Chinese terror cell that swiped a dirty bomb. If they'd unleashed it in Moscow, fallout would have lit the region on fire. I posed as a Russian arms dealer, and their trust found the bomb's hiding place. We hit the safe house hard and fast, neutralized the threat before dawn. That night, I watched the news, saw people going about their lives unaware how close they'd come to dying. That's when it hit me. This was what I was meant to do. Keep the wolves at bay, unseen and unthanked. Since then, I've shut down bioweapon labs in North Korea, foiled Russian sleeper agents before they could pull the trigger on diplomats, and even stopped Mexican cartels from poisoning city water supplies with weaponized hallucinogens. The missions blur together, one crisis after another, each more twisted than the last. My name started carrying weight in the Grid, not because I was the best, but because I finished what I started, no matter how bloody it got. Just when I thought I'd seen it all, I got handed something different. I was in a dim room waiting. My handler, Jones, walked in, all business. "We've got a situation that needs your particular skill set," he said. A rogue scientist, hidden lab, forgotten village in Eastern Europe. The kind of threat that could set the world on fire. The word on the street was the guy was cooking up a bioweapon. Something new, something nasty. I raised an eyebrow. Any clue who this scientist is, or what he's after? Jones didn't say a word, just slid a worn folder across the table. I flipped it open. The name hit hard. Dr. Vladimir Rostov. Russian, microbiologist. Might as well be a ghost for all the intel we have on him. He's fallen off the radar 5 years back after working on black budget projects. Now it looked like he was back and, worse, trying to sell his new creation to terrorists and enemy states. I scanned Rostov's file. Pages of redacted reports and grainy surveillance photos. The kind of background that spelled real trouble. So, I'm going in to find this lab of his, see what he's built and burn the whole thing to the ground? I asked. Jones nodded, his face like stone. Yes, exactly. This mission doesn't exist. You don't exist. If you're caught or killed, you're on your own. We need it to be done clean and silent. I didn't hesitate. This was what I was trained for. Solo ops in the shadows, no backup, no safety net. Oh, point me to the village, I said. I'll handle it. 3 days later, I was wheels down in Eastern Europe. The cover? Dwayne Adams, just another clueless American tourist chasing history at old cathedrals. The moment I hit the ground, I shed the alias. No passport, no credit cards, no ties. I disappeared into the streets like smoke. Made my way to the station, grabbed a train out into the sticks. The ride carried me through miles of empty hills, farmhouses dotting the green like forgotten graves. I spent the time burning every scrap of intel on Rostov into my mind. His old contacts, his habits, anything that might give me an edge. My plan was simple. Go where no one looks. Aim for the quiet, out-of-the-way villages where a man could build hell in secret. After a day of riding steel rails, I hit a small settlement swallowed by forest and fields. I had to blend in, so I rubbed dirt on my skin, roughed up my clothes, and played the part of a drifter. A nobody with a backpack and layers of ragged gear. For the next 2 weeks, I moved from village to village, hiking through the wilderness, keeping my ears open and my profile low. The locals were kind enough, but none had seen or heard anything useful. Well, until I stumbled on that mountain village. It was hidden deep in the Carpathians, where the fog clung low and thick, smothering what little light made it through the clouds. From the tree line, I watched the square. The people kept their heads down, didn't talk to strangers, didn't even look at them. When I tried to strike up a conversation, the man I approached nearly sprinted away, his eyes darting around like he expected to be watched. Something here wasn't right. That night I saw the trucks, big military rigs crawling up the mountain road, headlights cutting through the mist. They stopped at a large complex on the edge of the village. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter, and then, before dawn, the trucks rolled out again, this time empty. I didn't take a genius to see this for what it was. I'd found the place. I holed up in an abandoned shack on the outskirts, my new base of operations. Every day I watched the villagers, tracking their routines, and every night I scaled the mountain under cover of darkness, mapping the lab's defenses, guard shifts, weak spots, ways in. One night I saw something that made my blood run cold. A guard dragging a woman, crying and terrified, into the compound. God, whatever Rostov was building up there wasn't just a weapon, it was a nightmare. And I was the one who had to end it. She was tied up, dragging one leg like it was shattered, barely able to move. The sight of it made my fists clench. What kind of sick experiments was Rostov running on these people? My gut burned with rage, but I couldn't let it take over. No, the mission came first. Stop Rostov, grab whatever intel he gathered, and turn his lab to ashes. Justice was coming for him, no matter how deep he tried to hide. The days blurred together as I watched the village. More and more the locals started acting strangely. Wild fits of anger, violent spasms, eyes darting like they were being hunted. Some twitched constantly, others looked like their minds had snapped, as if something inside them had broken loose. At night the screams tore through the dark, raw and animalistic. They echoed from the direction of the lab, each one a reminder of Rostov's twisted cruelty. Well, there was no doubt now. The bastard was using these people as test subjects in some brutal, illegal trial. And I was the only one who could stop it before it spread beyond this cursed place. Every second I waited gave him a chance to move, to unleash his weapon. I had to act fast. Well, that day I stayed hidden, gathering my strength. I checked my gear, cleaned my blades, ran through every scenario in my head. When the sun set, so would Rostov's reign of terror. The night was black as pitch when I made my move. I waited until the moon dipped behind the ridge, the valley swallowed by shadows. I slipped on my night vision and ghosted down through the trees, closing in on the compound's lights. The place was ringed by chain-link fence, topped with barbed wire, but I'd already scouted a blind spot behind a collapsed wall. Bolt cutters made quick work of the fence, and I was in, moving low, hugging the dark. Up ahead, 2 guards with rifles paced the front like clockwork. Others wandered the perimeter in lazy sweeps. I kept to the edges, timing my steps with their patterns until I reached a side door. An electric lock blocked my way. I pulled a disc scrambler from my kit, my heart pounding as I quickly worked. Seconds felt like hours, but finally the lock clicked and the door creaked open. Inside, the hall was all sterile white and cold light. Silent. Most of the staff must have cleared out for the night. I slipped down the corridor fast, my eyes sharp for anything useful. A lab, a control room, security. And then I found it. A heavy steel door labeled authorized personnel only. It was worth a look. The card reader needed an ID. I searched the offices nearby, rifled through some papers and drawers until I spotted a badge left carelessly on a desk. I took it, swiped it at the door. The light turned green, and the lock disengaged. The room beyond was massive, tables cluttered with microscopes, centrifuges, and glassware. The far wall was lined with tanks of fluid, tubes, cultures growing who know what. Strange machines buzzed quietly in the corners, their purpose unclear. Well, I'd found it. Rostov's lair, the birthplace of his nightmare. I moved fast, snapping photos of everything. His notes, formulas, drives, anything that could expose what he'd done out here. One of the test logs caught my eye. Phrases like neurotoxic threshold and psychosis induction. Well, this wasn't just a weapon, it was a mind killer. A terror machine. I spotted a door labeled clinical trials. Whatever was behind it, I knew that would be worse, but I had to see. What I saw inside turned my stomach. A row of hospital beds lined the room, each one holding a person strapped down tight, their bodies jerking and convulsing, their faces twisted in torment. They muttered nonsense, their eyes wild and empty like they weren't even human anymore. Like someone or something had hollowed them out. On a table nearby, I spotted a chart. Photos of these same people before it had all gone to hell. They were smiling, healthy, normal, before Rostov had turned them into lab animals. He'd pumped them full of his sick bioweapon just to watch them break. It was monstrous. And I had to end it now. But before I could move, I heard voices echoing down the hall. Guards making their rounds. I ducked low, my heart racing, slid under a desk just as 2 of them strode in, speaking Russian. Did they catch the American yet? One asked. Not yet, the other said. But security's locked down. He won't get far. My blood went cold. God, they knew I was here. Somehow they'd made me. Now I had to move really fast. The second they cleared out, I bolted for an office I'd passed already, where I'd seen Rostov's research notes. Found the files I needed. Detailed formulas, test data, all on his twisted neurotoxin. With this, our scientists might have a shot at making a cure. Well, I snapped photos of everything here. Stuffed the originals in my pack. It was time for me to disappear. But slipping out wouldn't be easy with every guard on edge. I crept to the rear fire door, hoping to ghost my way out. Instead, the hallway lit up like it was noon. An alarm howled, deafening and brutal. Damn, I triggered a silent tripwire. Well, the place erupted in shouts, boots pounding toward me. Stealth was dead as an option. So I ran flat out, my lungs burning, feet hammering the floor as I retraced my path. Bursting through the exit, I was hit with floodlights, and sirens screamed from every building. Sirens. No choice now. Just try to make it to the fence. Bullets tore up the ground around me as I sprinted across the open yard, zigzagging between structures, the hole in the fence dead ahead. Almost there. My legs screamed and my shoulder exploded in pain. I'd been hit. But I didn't stop. I threw myself through the gap in the fence, rolled hard and vanished into the night, clutching the stolen notes and samples. Behind me, the guards roared at the darkness, but I was gone. The hunt was now on, and the whole village would be out for my blood. I couldn't risk staying near town, so I pushed into the woods, deeper and deeper, until I found shelter in the ruins of a collapsed cottage swallowed by the forest. Not much, but it was enough. I bought myself a little time to stop the bleeding, to catch my breath, and figure out my next move. Part 2. From the attic of that crumbling cottage, I kept eyes on the lab with my binoculars. The place was crawling with activity after my break-in. Patrols tripled, floodlights cutting through the night like prison yard beams. Inside I caught glimpses of Rostov, pacing around like a caged animal, barking orders at his men. Well, he was still working, and his twisted research was moving fast. Every hour he was alive was a step closer to unleashing that neurotoxin on the world. I had to finish this as soon as possible. I took stock of what I had left. My weapons, my gear, the intel. All accounted for. But me, I was a mess. I was exhausted, bruised, and blood caked down my arm from where that round had torn through my shoulder. I couldn't afford to let it slow me down, though. So using what little medical supplies I had, I cleaned out the wound as best I could, poured some whiskey from the flask over my blade, and dug the damn bullet out myself. The pain was blinding. I nearly blacked out. But the metal came free, and with it, the dead weight in my arm. I wrapped it tight, gritted my teeth, and tried to rest, knowing that rest would not come easy. The truth was, I'd rattled Rostov's cage, but hadn't stopped the beast. His operation was still running. The lab, the samples, the equipment, all of it still intact. If I hit the compound again in this state, it'd be suicide. Every guard in the valley was on edge, and my arm was barely working. I needed help, real help, the kind that came with heavy weapons and orders to erase everything. The problem was, I had one way to call it in, an encrypted sat link disguised as a cheap wristwatch. Battery was nearly dead. It'd only work if I could find open sky, no trees, no cover. One shot at a signal, just one chance. And so I waited. I healed as best I could, hiding out in that ruined shack, watching the lab through the rain-streaked glass, moving only at night to scavenge what I could from abandoned farms nearby. Patrols pushed deeper into the woods, and I kept ahead of them, just barely. And then it came. A storm like I'd never seen. Woke to the sound of rain hammering the roof, thunder shaking the ground beneath me. Outside, the sky was alive, lightning tearing it open, lighting the trees like a strobe. The storm's energy was raw and violent, and it was what I needed. It would give my signal the boost to punch through. My one chance had finally arrived. Beneath the roar of thunder, the storm covered my tracks. The pounding rain and howling wind drowned out the sound of my transmission, masking it from any ears that might be too close for comfort. The pitch-black night was my shield. If I was going to make the call, it had to be now. I ripped off the fake watch band, flipped out the tiny satellite antenna, and punched in the coded message with shaking fingers. Ryson, bioweapon lab confirmed. Mission blown. Immediate arm backup required. Full cleanup and containment. Send coordinates. One press of the button, and the message was gone. Hurled out into the storm, into the void. Now it was a waiting game. I didn't know if it had reached HQ, didn't know how long it would take. All I knew was that I'd done my part, and the rest was survival. I hunkered down in the ruins, clinging to what cover I had, dodging search parties combing the woods and ghosting through empty farmhouses for scraps. Each night I checked my watch for a signal, hoping for any sign that someone out there had heard me. Nothing. Just static and silence. My hopes started to crack. Then, 8 long days later, a flicker. One small red light blinking on the face of the watch. and a coded reply. Backup en route. Delayed due to heavy security. ETA 48 hours. Hold position. Well, relief hit me like a punch to the gut. Help was coming. All I had to do was keep breathing, keep hidden for 2 more days. But the valley wasn't letting up. The patrols were everywhere now, the net tightening. My food was gone, my strength was low, and the walls felt like they were closing in. But I wasn't about to give in. No, I was part of the grid. I'd survive. 48 hours, that's all I needed. 2 more days in this hell and Rostov's nightmare would be over. His lab, his weapons, all of it, would be wiped clean off the map. I pushed aside the hunger and the fear. Failure was not on the table. This whole thing was much bigger than me, bigger than my pain, my exhaustion. I had a job to finish, no matter what it cost. Then, after nearly 2 weeks alone in enemy territory, I woke to the sound of something moving outside. Soft cracks of branches, the whisper of boots through the brush. Oh, my heart raced. Maybe Rostov's dogs had finally cornered me. I grabbed my pistol and edged to the window, ready to make a last stand. But what I saw wasn't his men. 4 figures in camo, moving like shadows, rifles at the ready, gear heavy with ammo and purpose. The cavalry, they'd made it. I cracked open the door, my voice low. Blue Jay? Ariel, the lead man answered, giving the right code without missing a beat. I let them in fast. Janssen, Tyler, Cole, and Reed. Grid agents, solid and ready for war. The leader handed me a sealed envelope. From Division. Hell of a trek getting here quiet, he said, flashing a grin. But we wouldn't miss this party. I gave them the rundown quickly. No time for speeches. Look, Rostov's cooked up a neurotoxin that doesn't just kill. It takes over. I mean, mind control on a massive scale. He's been testing it on the villagers, and the results you do not want to see. But I showed them anyway. Photographs of the test subjects, the scribbled formulas, the evidence of the horror. The team's faces hardened. Cole broke the silence first. Oh, this isn't gathering intel anymore. We go in hard, we end this. Rostov doesn't walk out. Dead or in chains, doesn't matter. No cleanup, no containment. We just burn it down. Tyler checked his rifle, nodding grimly. He's right. This toxin can't leave the valley. We make sure of that. I unrolled the map and tapped the location of the lab. Look, security's thick now. They tripled it after I hit them the first time. Getting inside won't be easy, but we don't have the luxury of time. Johnson leaned in, his voice low. Division wants this quiet. No mess, no noise. But once we're inside, we do what we have to do. No rules, no limits. We stop this here and now. Understood, I said. If Rostov escapes or that toxin gets out, it's game over. We can't let that happen. Reed checked his gear. Your call. We follow. You know this place. You know these people, but tonight, this ends one way or another. I tightened the straps on my pack, gave my weapons one last check. Right, we move in 20. Lock and load, and be ready. Rostov won't go down easy. Cole racked his shotgun with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. Good. I brought plenty of persuasion. The team got ready then, checking their gear and loading mags. We had one shot at this. If we failed, Rostov's plague would not stop. It would spread like wildfire. He'd answer for what he'd done tonight, or his lab would burn to ash. We moved through the night, shadows in the dark. I led the team to the weak spot in the fence, the same path I'd used before. We slipped through as silent as ghosts. 2 guards patrolled the edge of the compound. Well, they went down fast, muffled shots from silenced pistols. No alarms, not yet at least. We made for the research wing, ducking down side corridors, taking out 2 more guards before they could even blink. Cole stayed with their bodies, eyes hard. Right, No turning back now, he muttered. At the lab door, I swiped the stolen keycard. Thankfully, it still worked and the lock clicked open. We moved fast, sweeping the room. The place was dead quiet. Must be too late for most of the staff. Right, clear. No movement, Tyler reported, his rifle scanning the dark corners. Okay, let's move. Grab everything useful, I ordered. We jammed flash drives into every machine, pulling files, formulas, test data, diagrams, anything we could use against him. Then Reed's voice cut through the quiet. Hey, in here. You need to see this. We followed him into the adjoining room, and what we saw froze us all. Monitors played back footage. Test subjects strapped down, thrashing, their minds shredded by Rostov's toxin. The virus didn't just kill. No, it really did hollow people out, turn them into shells. Jonsson clenched his jaw. His eyes were burning. He did this to his own people. He treated them like lab rats. We all stared, silent. The weight of it hit us hard. Yeah, like you said, this ends tonight, Jones said, yanking the drive with the video files on it. We torch this nightmare, all of it. In Rostov's inner sanctum, we hit the mother lode, files and data that spelled out just how deep this madness has gone. His plans were bigger than we'd imagined. He wasn't content with just testing. He was working on aerosol delivery, a way to blanket entire cities, maybe nations, turning innocent people into mindless puppets, a network of the enslaved all dancing to his sick tune. Damn, this is darker than we thought, I muttered. Yeah, we end this before he finishes what he's already started. Jonsson's face was like stone. Yeah, no question, he dies here tonight. That's when the alarms went off, and lights strobed red. Looks like our cover was blown. Yeah, they're onto us. Move out, Jonsson barked. But we didn't run. We pushed deeper, straight into the lion's den. If Rostov was still in this hellhole, we'd drag him out. Footsteps thundered towards us now, his goons coming in hot. We hugged the corridor's corners, weapons up, waiting. As soon as they rounded the bend, we dropped them with tight, controlled bursts. They had numbers, but we had the precision. We leapfrogged down the hall, a deadly rhythm of covering fire in advance, bodies piling in our wake. Cole, you're up, I called as we reached Rostov's secured wing. Reaching charges set, we blew the reinforced door clean open, stormed in, and cut down 2 more guards before they even had a chance to aim. God, the place was in chaos, alarms blaring, lights flickering. But no one else stood in our way. We entered the nerve center of the operation now, the neurotoxin lab, sealed behind armored glass. Come on, burn it to the ground, Jonsson growled. Cole and Tyler let loose with incendiary rounds. The glass shattered, the chemicals ignited. Fire swallowed the lab within seconds. The heat was fierce and the air was thick with smoke and the stench of burning death. We pushed on now into Rostov's office, grabbed every drive, every document tied to his nightmare plans, and rigged the room with more explosives. We were prepping to leave when the PA crackled to life. You will not leave alive, Rostov snarled, his voice twisted with rage. I will burn your bodies as if you have burned my work. Suddenly part of the wall burst inward. What charged us wasn't a man anymore. It was one of the villagers jacked up on Rostov's toxin, a monster in human skin. His eyes were bloodshot, there was foam at his mouth, and he was faster and stronger than anything should be. He came at us like a wrecking ball, smashing lab equipment, shrugging off gunfire like rain. We ducked, barely dodging his first swipe, until Cole grabbed a fire extinguisher and crushed his skull, ending the nightmare in a spray of blood and bone. Hey, everyone still breathing? I shouted. We took stock quickly. There was no time to spare. Rostov had unleashed his monsters on us. "Right, we gotta go now," Reed snapped. "Copy that. Move." We fought our way through corridors thick with smoke, the fire roaring louder than our gunshots, cutting down any guard fool enough to block us. Rostov's voice echoed through the blaze. He was unhinged and ranting over the speakers. "You can't stop my glorious revolution. Your minds will be the first to burn." We tried to shut him out, though. The exit was close, just past the containment wing. We blasted through the final set of steel doors, only to find ourselves face to face with a living hell. A swarm of infected villagers, at least 30 of them, their eyes wild, their teeth bared, driven mad by Rostov's poison. They closed in on us, bloodlust in their veins. Well, no turning back now. Their eyes were wild and bloodshot, empty of anything human. They growled and shrieked at us. They were twisted, feral things. The virus had gutted their minds, hollowed them out into puppets of pure savagery, driven by nothing but bloodlust. They came at us, fast and frenzied, clutching whatever tools or weapons they could find. Hammers, sickles, broken bottles, anything sharp enough to kill. "Stay tight. Don't let him split us up," Jonsson barked, his voice cutting through this chaos. But the infected swarmed us with insane speed. No care for their own lives, no fear of our gunfire. We pumped burst after burst into their ranks, but it barely slowed them. It was like they didn't feel pain. Rostov's toxin had burned that out of them, and all that was left was rage, animal and raw. We had to break through. The torn section of the fence was our only shot. "Come on, go," I yelled, and we charged, cutting through the mass of bodies, firing, shoving, ducking as they clawed and swung. Tyler took a hit to the back, but didn't stop. He just powered forward, with us covering him. I locked eyes with them as we fought, saw the hollow void where once there had been neighbors and friends, people I'd shared words with, meals with perhaps. Now nothing but monsters, all Rostov's doing. But this wasn't about mercy, no, it was about survival. "Keep firing! Move!" I shouted as we pulled back in bounds, laying down fire to cover each other's retreat. Reed and Tyler turned, rifles barking, keeping the infected at bay as we neared the fence. We drove through the opening, hitting the ground hard, then spun to cover the others. Oh, our rifles spat fury, holding the horde back just long enough. And then we were out, beyond the compound, sprinting into the open fields, the moonlight slick on our sweat, the trees ahead our salvation. We disappeared into the woods as the facility behind us burned, flames clawing at the night sky, a funeral pyre for Rostov's nightmare. But his voice still came, warped and furious over the loudspeakers, echoing through the crackling inferno. "You have only delayed what's coming, and I will find you." Part 3. We didn't look back. We just pushed through the dark forest until we reached the old hunting cabin I'd scouted weeks ago. A mile out, but it felt like another world. Inside the single stinking room, we caught our breath, our hearts were pounding, and we were battered, bloodied, but we were alive. I handed the SATCOM to Jonsson. "Get division. We need extraction." He called it in while we checked our weapons and counted our mags. The lab was ash, the data and samples gone, wiped clean in the blaze. But Rostov had somehow slipped through the net, and that made him more dangerous than ever. He didn't need that lab. No, the poison lived in his head, and that was enough to haunt the world. Jones lowered the comm, his face grim now. "Division says no chopper till nightfall. Too hot right now. We dig in and hold tight till dark." Well, we all nodded. We'd made it out, but the fight was not over, not by a long shot. I gave a sharp nod. That's exactly what I'd figured. Well, we're safe here for now. I'll take first watch. The team, spent and beaten down, found whatever corners they could to catch a few hours of sleep. The place stank of rot and dust, but none of us cared. When dawn finally broke, I roused Johnson just enough for a status check. We kept it simple. Stay put, stay hidden, don't make a sound. Oh, none of us slept easy. Every creak of the cabin, every rustle in the woods outside had us on edge, our fingers twitching near triggers. By midday, Cole finally said what we were all thinking. God damn it, this isn't over, not even close. Rostov's still out there and that formula's locked in his skull. If he finds the right buyers, this thing goes global. Well, I tried to ease him down. Look, he's crippled. No lab, no data, no samples. That's years of work up in smoke. Without resources, he's less of a threat. Janssen wasn't having it. Doesn't matter. Intel wants Rostov dead, now. He's too dangerous walking around free, you know that. And I did. Rostov wasn't going to crawl off into the shadows and disappear. No, he'd come for us, and he'd rebuild. And he had loyal killers still hiding out in the region ready to help him do it. We had to put an end to this for good. As dusk bled across the sky, we checked our gear one last time, loaded mags and chambered rounds. The chopper was an hour out still. After that, it was time to hunt Rostov down and end this nightmare. This time, we needed answers. We needed to grab a few of his men alive. We'd wring the truth out of them, that's for sure. Under cover of night, Cole and Reed moved like rats. They caught two of Rostov's stragglers near the lab's charred remains. We crept up behind them, swift and silent, hands clamped over mouths. "Make a sound, you're dead," Cole hissed. We bound their hands and gagged them, and dragged them to the basement of the crumbling ruin on the edge of town. No prying eyes down there. The air was damp and foul. They stared at us, stone-faced and defiant. Cole stepped forward, knife in hand. "Look, we can do this the easy way, or the fun way. You decide." He dragged the blade slow across one of the guard's cheeks, just enough to draw blood. The man went pale. "Talk, this ends fast," Cole growled, eyes cold. But they stayed silent. Big mistake. Cole painted them a picture, vivid, brutal, of how we carved the truth out of them piece by piece. That broke them. Fear cracked their tough act, and they folded. I shoved photos of Rostov in their faces. "Hey, where did he go after the lab burned?" One of them stammered. I don't know for sure. He's got hiding places, probably the catacombs, under the old chapel, the secret tunnels. I've been there forever. Yeah, he can vanish down there." Well, that matched what we suspected. The perfect place for him to slither away unseen. "Well, what's he doing down there? Is he trying to get out of the country?" I pressed. "He's furious. Lost his mind after the lab went up," one of them said, shaking. "But not scared. No, he's gathering men and weapons. He's not running. He wants revenge." I heard them say if things go south, they'll slip Rostov out by sea, set him up with a fresh lab in some far-off hellhole. But not yet. Not until you're all dead first. That was painted a grim picture, but it was exactly what we needed to hear. Rostov wasn't just dangerous, he was cornered. And a cornered bastard like him? Well, that's when he's deadliest. If we don't do this now, we might not get another crack at him. Cole pressed the cold edge of his blade against the guard's throat, just enough to make his point. "If you're holding back, now is the time to spill it." Both the men shook their heads fast, their eyes wide, sweat mixing with the grime on their faces. They swore they'd told us everything. Maybe they had. We kept them tied down anyway. You never know when you might need that leverage. The intel we'd torn from them gave us a clearer map of Rostov's next move. He'd slithered into the ancient catacombs under the crumbling chapel, licking his wounds, plotting his comeback. We couldn't let him vanish, not after what he'd done, not with the kind of knowledge rattling around inside his twisted head. We had to hit him fast before he rebuilt, before he could spread his sickness to the world again. Then the comms crackled in the dark, Division Command breaking through the static. "Bravo team, do you copy?" "Solid copy, Command," Janssen replied. "Change of orders. Rostov's capture is now top priority. Bring him in alive if possible. His intel is critical for countermeasure research." Well, Janssen's jaw clenched as he answered. "Affirmative, but trying to take him alive is going to cost us. We need confirmation on risk tolerance. Minimize detection. Keep collateral to a minimum, but bring him in. This is mission critical." Well, we huddled up, hashing out a new plan. Grabbing Rostov in those tunnels wasn't just risky, it was a death trap. "Hunting him down in that warren is suicide," Cole growled. "We'll be rats in a maze." But the orders were the orders. We stake out the chapel, Janssen decided. He'll have to come up eventually, and when he does, we take him down clean. It was a thin plan, but better than walking blind into his lair. We were also handed fresh code phrases. Our secret handshake for any Black Ops units lurking in the shadows that might join the hunt. No one could know about Rostov's bioweapon. That nightmare had to stay buried. The extraction bird touched down just after midnight. We moved fast, slipping through the dark toward the chapel. Every step felt like a trigger. We reached it under the cover of night, the ancient stones looming over us. His mercs were posted all around, but they didn't hear us coming. Silence pistols, blades in the dark. They all dropped without a sound. Then we found the stone steps leading down. The catacombs, old as the bones buried in them. We descended, the air thick with rot and damp. Our flashlights flickered to life, cutting through the blackness. Our boots splashed through cold, stagnant water. Somewhere ahead, in the dark, Rostov was waiting. We pushed deeper into the guts of the catacombs, the crypts and crooked tunnels stretching out like a spider's web in every damn direction. This place felt endless, a tomb built for ghosts and monsters. We moved slowly and deliberately, sweeping our lights over stone coffins and crumbling relics of centuries long gone. Rostov could be hiding anywhere in this hellhole. "Right, stay sharp," I whispered. "Watch for traps. He knows we're down here already." One crypt after another, nothing but rot and dust. The deeper we went, the thicker the silence grew, like the walls themselves were closing in on us, waiting to swallow us whole. Hours slipped by until finally Reed crouched low, spotting something. "Hey, scuffs, footprints. Someone's been through here recently." "Good. That means we're close. Let's see where it leads." The further we tracked, the more signs of life we found. Discarded tins, torch sconces still warm, cables snaking along the walls. A trail left by a man on the run. Cole's voice was low and tight with anticipation. "He's close, I can feel it." The prints led us deeper into rougher tunnels, old stone giving way to raw earth and jagged rock. Bits of gear lay around scattered, portable lights, wires, fresh footprints in the grime. "Right, stack up. Watch the angles," I said. Every shadow in here was a perfect kill zone. Rostov wasn't just hiding now, he was waiting. Then came the sounds we'd been waiting for. Voices, machines, the hum of power. The tunnel yawned into a cavern, massive and dark, but alive with activity. A makeshift command post had been carved out of the underworld. Computers, monitors, and weapons racks. And there he was, Rostov, barking orders like a man clinging to control. "Hey, there's our bastard," Cole hissed, his finger tightening on the trigger. But before we could move, the whole cavern shook with a thunderous crack. Explosion. Rostov had blown the tunnel behind us. Our exit was buried in rubble. Then his voice echoed through the dark. This is where you die. Part 4. Then all hell broke loose. His guards swarmed, gunfire lighting the cavern like a storm. Bullets sparked off the stone as we dove for cover. "Quick, fall back," I shouted, dragging Reed with me deeper into the maze while Cole and Tyre laid down bursts to buy us time. Rostov used this chaos, slipping away into the black. No way we were letting him vanish, though. "Quick, suppressing fire, move," I barked. Well, we tore after him, gunfire deafening in the tight space, our boots splashing through water and blood. His silhouette flickered ahead, vanishing into some hidden tunnel. But we kept on him, following the trail, the smears of blood, the staggering prints. "Yeah, he's hurt bad now. We're close," I said, breath ragged. "Hey, careful," Reed warned. "Cornered animals bite hardest." The trail ended at a rusted ladder leading up. This was his escape route. We climbed fast, emerging into the night, the forest swallowing us in cold air and shadows. Just in time to see his truck, camouflage-painted, lights blacked out, tearing off into the dark. Damn it, I cursed, watching our quarry slip from our fingers. After all this, he had still found a way out. Reed grabbed my shoulder, steady. "We hurt him tonight, bad. He won't recover from this easy. We'll get him. Next time, we'll get him and finish this." Well, he was right. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. We'd worn his empire down to ash now. It was just him. We'd find him, no matter where he ran. Well, Rostov was on the run now, his operation in ruins, his back truly against the wall. Felt like it was only a matter of time before we caught up and put an end to this nightmare. At dawn, we pushed on into the choking forest, hunting him before he could vanish and unleash that cursed neurotoxin on the world. The air was heavy now, as thick as soup. Every breath felt like a struggle. Sweat poured off us, soaking our gear as we hacked our way through the tangled mess of vines, roots, and monstrous ferns. Our machetes rose and fell in rhythm, carving a path where no path existed. Every step felt like a setup, though. The forest was swallowing us. Its shadows were tight, and sights were limited. A perfect killing ground if Rostov wanted to spring a trap. We moved like ghosts, our eyes sharp for anything. Tripwires, disturbed earth, the faintest sign that death was waiting behind the next tree. Yeah, Rostov knew this land like the devil knew sin. He had the home field advantage, and he was counting on it now. It wasn't just him we had to worry about. The toxin had already spread its rot. Even a scratch or bite from the wrong creature could doom us. We kept our distance from anything that moved. Birds with glazed eyes, wild dogs frothing at the mouth. Even the wind seemed infected. We passed through villages that weren't villages anymore. Just piles of splintered huts, walls splashed with blood and silence thick enough to choke on. No survivors anywhere, just the aftermath of Rostov's plague. By the second day, the point man froze, hand up, eyes locked on the ground. Broken branches, churned soil, a bit too clean, a bit too obvious. He waved us down. "Hey, these tracks are bait," he muttered. "He's leading us somewhere nasty." I gave a nod. Well, he knows we're right on his heels. Watch for the kill zone. We crept forward, slower now, every sense on fire. Sure enough, that fake trail led right to a pit, hidden beneath leaves and brush, lined with wooden spikes waiting to gut anyone careless enough to fall. We'd stopped just shy of the edge. Another of Rostov's little games. Cole spat in the dirt. God damn it, he's playing with us, trying to rattle us. Well, I shook my head. Mind games don't win wars. We stay sharp, stick to what we know, and finish this. Rostov's rattled. He's desperate. And that's our edge. From that point we moved like wolves on the hunt, wary of every broken twig and scrap of cloth he'd left as breadcrumbs. We weren't going to walk into any more of his traps. One slip out here meant certain death, and none of us planned dying on this green hell. Rostov knew this land like it was etched into his bones, and he knew how we thought, how we hunted. He was counting on us to slip, just for a second, one lapse, and we'd be dead men. Well, we couldn't let that happen. The only way to catch him was to stay sharper than his traps, to outthink his every move. Surprise was the only card we had left, and we had to play it right. For a week we stalked him through that suffocating forest, moving slowly and methodically. And then, nothing. The trail just vanished. Damn it. We lost him, Reed spat, the frustration thick in his voice. We were deep in the wilderness now, with no more tracks and no more clues. Look, he can't stay hidden forever, Jones growled. We widen our grid. He'll slip up. But each passing day chewed away at our nerves. Our supplies had run low, and the forest was closing in on us like a noose. Every wasted hour felt more like Rostov slipping further from our grasp, buying time to rebuild his nightmares somewhere new. Then, when hope had nearly bled out of us, we got a break. A local guide whispered of a bunker hidden in the brush, about 10 clicks north. This matched one of the hideouts Rostov was rumored to use. It was a thin lead, but it was all we had, so we moved out, quiet as shadows. This was it. After weeks of chasing ghosts, tonight could be the end. There's no room for failure now. Under the thin smear of moonlight, we crept up to the bunker that we'd been watching for a day straight. 2 mercenaries stood guard at the steel door, hired guns, loyal to the last breath. They had to go, and fast. I motioned to Tyler to swing wide to the west. I took the east, moving like a wraith through the undergrowth, while Reed and Cole stayed back, covering us, ready to light up anything that moved. On my signal, Tyler and I closed in, silent as death. And in a heartbeat we were on them, our blades flashing, throats open before they could do so much as gasp. We hauled the bodies into the brush, leaving the entrance clear. Cole and Reed moved on up. I punched in the stolen code. Now we'd need one more piece of luck. I punched in the code from the card. The keypad blinked green and the heavy door creaked open with a groan of metal. Same code as in his hideout. We slipped inside. A narrow passage sloped down, a steel ladder dropping us into the guts of the earth. The air down there was thick and stale. Rock and concrete pressed close as we climbed deeper, maybe 30 feet or more now. My pulse was hammering in my ears. Whatever waited us down there, we were walking into its lair. At the bottom we found a web of tunnels. Bare concrete, pipes snaking along the walls, wires humming with power. We flipped on our night vision, and the world turned ghostly green. Our rifles felt heavier in our hands now. The weight of what was coming was hanging over us. We moved through the corridors, following the schematics that we'd scraped together from intel. It was too quiet down here. The hum of the generators was the only sound besides our boots and ragged breathing. There were no guards, no workers, just empty halls and that creeping dread clawing at the back of my mind. Oh, something's off, Cole muttered. I didn't have to answer. We all felt it. This place stank of a big setup. Every corner we cleared, every hallway we passed through, we were expecting hell to break loose. But it didn't. The place was deserted. Or so it seemed. We finally reached the surveillance room deep in the belly of the facility, the heart of this ghost base, and we braced ourselves for whatever nightmare waited in the shadows. The mystery of the missing personnel hit us like a punch to the gut. The surveillance screens flickered, showing what we hadn't wanted to believe. Every corridor, every containment room, filling fast with infected villagers. Dozens of them. The tunnels had funneled them right to us like rats in a trap. Rostov had unleashed hell on his own stronghold, releasing his human weapons to wipe us out. The bastard had planned all of this, a last line of defense made from the broken bodies of those he'd already destroyed. "Oh, Jesus, he's turned them loose," Cole muttered. "We have to move now." But we weren't going anywhere. Around us, one after the other, steel blast doors slammed shut, the booms echoing like thunder. We were caged in. Then came the hiss. Air vents cracked open, mist spilling into the room, thick, cold, and reeking of chemicals. One breath of this was enough. I knew the stench. It was Rostov's neurotoxin, the same damn compound he'd been perfecting to tear minds apart. Now in gas form, filling these tunnels like a poison fog. A voice, a familiar voice, crackled through the ceiling speakers. Rostov. His voice filled the room, twisted by madness and amplified by concrete walls. "You didn't really think I wouldn't be ready for this, did you? That I wouldn't have a plan if my work was threatened? You're right where I want you, trapped like animals. Now you'll suffer something far worse than death." His laughter echoed, sick and unhinged, mingling with the growing chorus of screams from the infected closing in. We snapped on our gas masks, the filters our only lifeline now, but they wouldn't last forever. And the infected? They were already pounding through the corridors. We had minutes, maybe less. Rostov had everything on his side, his poison, his monsters, his trap. He'd been waiting for us and was savoring this moment. "Right. On me," I barked as we moved as one. No hesitation, no second guessing. We pushed down the east corridor, the only gap left. Our rifles spat short, brutal bursts. Our blades flashed. We fought like cornered wolves, carving a path through the storm of bodies. The infected, they swarmed us, mindless and frenzied. They clawed, they bit, and they didn't stop. The toxin had burned away anything human. There was just rage and violence left behind. We crushed skulls, broke limbs, kept moving. Stopping would mean dying, and not a quick, painless death. It felt endless, though. A blur of blood, muscle flashes, and screams. When we finally reached a security door, we forced it shut behind us and barricaded ourselves inside. The pounding started almost instantly. Hands, fists, maybe heads slamming against the metal. They were going to break through eventually. Reed checked the door, slamming a fresh mag into his rifle. "This won't hold them. The hinges are already giving." Cole's eyes were wild. "Can we reach backup? Call for extraction?" I shook my head. Comms are dead. Rostov has cut us off. So we were alone. No rescue, no cavalry. Just us, in a sealed room and a horde tearing at the walls. I forced the fear down and locked eyes with my team. "Look, we've been through worse. We'll get through this too. Just stay sharp and stay alive. We will not die down here." But the truth was clawing at my guts. We were deep in Rostov's nightmare, surrounded by his monsters, and time was running out. Well, there was no way out. No clear path to blast through their numbers. But surrender? That was not in our DNA. It was survive or die on our feet. So we slammed fresh mags into our weapons, tightened our grips, and steeled ourselves for the storm coming our way. If we couldn't carve a way out of this hellhole, we'd go down swinging, not crawling. Part 5. Then, the impossible happened. The heavy lock on the door began to turn, the metal groaning. We spun, ready to unleash hell on whatever nightmare stepped through. But instead of monsters, 2 lab techs stumbled in, pale, wide-eyed, with hands thrown up in panic. "Wait, don't shoot," one of them gasped. They looked as shocked to see us breathing as we were to see them. Survivors, trapped here when the lockdown had sealed this tomb. "Hey, is there a way out of this damn place?" I barked. They nodded fast, pointing down a side passage. "This way, hurry!" The mob was already thundering toward us again. We didn't need more convincing. We followed them at a dead run, weaving through maintenance shafts and service corridors, our hearts hammering as the shrieks of the infected echoed behind us. Felt like forever, but at last we reached a ladder. We all climbed fast, bursting out into the forest night, the air cool and sweet against our faces. But it wasn't over. I grabbed the female tech's arm. "Is there another way back in? We're not done. We need to end Rostov tonight." Well, she hesitated, the terror clear in her eyes. "There's a maintenance tunnel. It bypasses the upper levels, but after what you've seen down there, look, going back's suicide." "We don't have a choice," I growled. "Hey, show us." With shaking hands, she led us to a hidden entrance. One by one, we dropped back into the dark. The air quickly turned sour again. The deeper we went, the louder the screams and pounding grew. The horde was still there, prowling and waiting. We flicked off our safeties, our fingers at the ready. As we rounded a bend, we opened up short, brutal bursts into the first wave of infected that lunged at us. They fell, but the gunfire echoed like a dinner bell for the others. More came, crazed and relentless, throwing themselves at us with no thought, no fear, just that pure animal fury. And we fought like cornered beasts, bullets flying, blades flashing. Each step toward the central hub felt like a mile to us now. They kept coming, wave after wave. We burned through every round, retreating, blood and sweat mixing on our skin. But finally, we broke through the last knot of bodies, stumbling into the heart of the base. And there he was, Rostov, finally cornered, finally desperate, scrambling for his escape as his recorded voice spat from hidden speakers overhead. "You are weak-minded fools. Embrace your infection or perish." This was finally it, our chance to end the nightmare. Well, the second Rostov spotted us, he made a desperate lunge for a concealed side door, but Tyler was on him in a heartbeat, slamming him into the floor with a bone-cracking force. We all closed in, our weapons raised, our barrels inches from his skull. This was it, the end of this sick crusade, the end of his twisted dream. "You're too late," Rostov hissed, blood and spit on his lips, defiance burning in his eyes. "The age of the infected has already begun." I didn't waste words, so the butt of my rifle cracked across his face, cutting off the madness mid-sentence. He wasn't talking his way out of this. No speeches, no deals, just justice. I ordered Cole and Reed to secure him tight. No chances here, no mistakes. While Tyler and I planted the charges that would bring this cursed place down. We're going to bury his nightmare so deep no one would ever unearth it again. Hauling Rostov through the blood-soaked tunnels, we hit the detonator. The ground shook as fire and fury tore through the complex behind us. The walls caved in, the screams of the damned drowned out by the roar of the explosions. Oh, Rostov thrashed, his voice breaking as the empire he'd built was reduced to ash. He was finally done, helpless, just another prisoner now, dragged out of the inferno by the very men he'd tried to destroy. Outside, the flames lit up the night sky as the bunker was consumed, every trace of his evil burning with it. The monster had finally been caged. Under heavy guard, Rostov was hauled off to a black site, where the CIA would bleed him of whatever twisted knowledge he still had, every scrap of data that could help build a defense against the horrors he'd unleashed. When they were done, he'd rot in a hole so deep and dark the world would forget he ever existed. No mercy, no redemption, just the cold judgment that he deserved. And the village where it had all begun? We wiped it off the map. There was no cure for those poor souls, no salvation. We gave them the only peace left to offer, a swift end. The infected threat was scorched from the earth, the valley left a smoldering graveyard of ash and memory. It's been a year now since we put Rostov down and burned his neurotoxin nightmare to dust, and the world sleeps safer. But I'll never forget the price we paid to buy that peace. As I move through the streets of DC, heading for HQ, fragments of those brutal days still claw their way to the surface when I least expect it. Split-second flashes, the hollowed eyes of the infected villagers, their crazed violence, the way their humanity had been burned out by the virus. I can still feel what it was like, being hunted in that unforgiving wilderness by a genius gone mad, wondering if we'd ever make it out alive. But we did. We fought tooth and nail, and we won. As for Rostov, he's rotting in a black site cell now, buried so deep the sun will never touch his skin again. His sick virus, his twisted research, all of it erased, like it never existed. And the threat he posed? Gone. Neutralized for good. But the face of those villagers, the ones we couldn't save, they still visit me in the dead of night. Ghosts of the innocent, torn apart by Rostov's insanity. We ended their suffering the only way we could, but it doesn't make it any easier. We were too late for them. And that failure, well, it sticks with you. But in this line of work, regret's a luxury we can't afford. There's always another threat, another fight waiting in the shadows. And the enemies of freedom? They don't rest. Which means neither do we. I scan my secure inbox for the next mission orders, already gearing up to move. The details are locked down tight, classified, but it doesn't matter. Whether I'm deep inside a terror cell, hunting a traitor, or cutting the fuse on a biological nightmare before it blows, I'll do what needs doing. Without hesitation, with no second guessing. Failure? It's not in the playbook when lives hang in the balance. My team files into the briefing room now, their faces etched with the same grim focus that I feel. We've bled together, and we've survived hell together. Whatever waits for us out there, we'll take it head on. We were made for this, to move through the dark so others can live in the light. No turning back, just the mission. And wherever that takes us, we'll go together, eyes forward, ready for whatever comes. So that was a bit of a fun romp through Eastern Europe. Hope you enjoyed that one. Yeah, I do like these stories as well. Not quite as much as the zombie ones, but yeah, I do pretty much like this kind of story as well. So feedback on what you thought is always appreciated. I do look through all the comments, and I do try and plan accordingly. So let me know what you thought about that one. Oh, recorded that in one long go. Voice going a little bit now, so excuse me if I don't talk too much here at the end. Anyway, yeah, it's been crazy hot over here. Mid 30 degrees Celsius is for a few days, so yeah, the office where I do all the recording for this has been getting a little bit sweaty. Let's just say that. Anyway, I won't go into too many details about that, but yep, hope you enjoyed that one. Back again very soon, my dear friends. Till the next time, very, very sweet dreams. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this story today. Really means a lot to me and to the author of the story, of course. Well, if you want to know more about me, I'm pretty much everywhere on social media. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can download my music on SoundCloud. I've got a Patreon if you feel like. Throw me $1 or $2. Very much appreciated. And of course, on Reddit, I have a place where you can leave stories if you want me to read one that you've written. Well, hoping to see you all again very soon. Till then, sweet dreams. Bye-bye.